Yo, what's up guys? Today I'm gonna play a game in the 400 to 600 rating range, and I'm not gonna play any theory yet in the opening, just normal developing moves. And then in the middle game I'm gonna use some tactics that I've already covered in this series if I get the opportunity to do that. Okay, we got a game against a 500. So let's see what he plays. Okay, e4. Now I'm just gonna play normal developing moves, so he grabs the center, so I'm gonna also contest the center. Okay, and he gets his queen out. Now I just made the video about the early checkmating attempts where they try to get the queen out early, so I'm gonna apply that knowledge. So what we're gonna do is aim for the knight to go on d4 and then also develop the other knight. So we just developed both knights. Now I guess his idea is to play bishop c4. So I'm gonna start with this knight maybe, just to block the check. Okay, and he goes g4. The idea is for him to go g5. I'm just gonna play knight to c6. And now I'm gonna play knight to d4. So I'm attacking this queen and attacking this pawn. Now he has to move the queen, and then I'm gonna move my knight. Okay, and now we just take the queen. And that's the game. Okay, he doesn't resign. Okay, now what's the best square for the knight? If I go here, maybe I get kicked out and then I don't have a square anymore, so I guess we can go to e4 or d5. I don't really know which one is better. I'm gonna go to d5. If I get attacked, I can just drop back. Okay, now I'm gonna put this bishop out before this one, so if I want to get this bishop out, I have to play d6. But if I play d6 now, then this bishop is locked in behind the chain. So there will be a pawn chain here, so this bishop cannot get out. So I have to first move this bishop out and then play e6. Okay, bishop g2, attacking my knight. I can defend my knight, can also drop back. I guess I'll defend it. If he takes, I do get double pawns, but I don't care about that because they are not isolated. Okay, so he plays c4. Now I just move back. I can even go to c7. But from c7 I don't have a square anymore. I mean, I can go to a6, but this is on the edge of the board, so I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm gonna go to b6, so I'm at least attacking the pawn. Okay, I don't know, he wants to trap my knight or something, but now I can just take here. And you always have to check that then you have squares for the knight. So here, if I take and he attacks the knight, I have to look for the squares that my knight can go to. So if I take, he goes here, I can drop back to a5 or d6. So my knight does have an escape square. You always have to look for that. Okay, he goes d3. Now I can go back to a5 or d6. I like a5 more because if I go to d6, then I'm blocking my own pawn. So then my pawn cannot go up, and with that my bishop cannot develop. So that's why I'm gonna go to a5. Now I have to be aware of this fork, but right now the bishop is covering the square. So for example, if he goes here, then I guess I'm gonna jump into b3 and then maybe to d4. Okay, he moves his king. That's a weird move. Now, I do have a fork here, so I'm gonna play it. I mean, it's not really a fork. I guess he defended the fork with the queen, with the king move. Because now he's defending the bishop, so if I go here, I can't trade the knight for the bishop. So he will move the rook and then I just take the bishop. I can do that, and maybe that's the simplest, so let's just play this move. So I'm attacking the rook and the bishop, and I'm just gonna take the bishop. Now, this in general is not a good idea because my knight is more active than this bishop, but I'm up a queen, so I want to get the pieces of the board. So now I just take, he takes back, and then I will play d5. I'm opening up my bishop, and then just castle. Okay. So he's attacking this pawn. I can defend it with the bishop, I guess, or with the queen. I guess let's go with the queen, because if I defend with the bishop, then he has d4. But I guess then I push and then he goes f3. The point is that my pawn is now pinned, so if he goes forward I cannot take. So that's why I'm gonna play queen c7, because when he goes forward I can take with the bishop. This is just the most precise way, I think, to defend. So if I push, obviously take, he wins the trade. If I defend, I can also go here. This is also an option, but I like this move because it also develops the queen. It will later connect the rooks when I move the bishop out and castle. So I'm gonna play queen to c7, and I'm also lining up with the king. So maybe if I push this pawn to c4 and then open this file, then I'm gonna have a path to the king. Okay, he goes f6. Now I can take, he takes, but then his pawn is here and it's controlling, it's annoying. If I go g6, then I just close up this part of the board, because he cannot really, I mean, I guess he can push these pawns, but that's gonna take a long time. So better than taking here is probably to go g6. I can also take, so take, he gets his file open, and I don't want that. I want everything to be closed, because I'm gonna castle here. Okay, he plays knight to d2. Now I think it's time to just castle. Notice that I'm not trading knight for the bishop. So this trade, because then his bishop is really powerful, and I don't want that. Even though I'm getting another trade, I don't want that. What I can do is play bishop b4 and pin this knight to the rook, and I'm securing a trade like that. So you have to evaluate. Some trades are, yes, it's a trade, but it's really not beneficial for you, because, for example, this one, his bishop will be very powerful on this diagonal. Okay. Now I can take the knight. He takes back. I can also attack the knight one more time with the queen. This is an option. Can also just take, but then his knight takes. I can take the knight, remove the defender of the pawn, and then take the pawn. So in that case I do win a pawn, but I give him the strong bishop. Maybe let's do that, because it's a tactic. So we take the knight was defending this pawn, so now if I take, he takes with the knight. So I first remove the knight and then I take the pawn. And now I just take the pawn. Now notice that his rook cannot go in because my bishop is covering. So I'm not gonna trade the knight. I'm not gonna trade the bishop for the knight now, because first I have to contest the e file, so his rook doesn't get active. Okay, he moves away. That's a weird move because it doesn't even attack the pawn, because the queen is obviously defending. So I guess let's just develop the rook. I can also trade. Maybe I should trade. I don't know. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Just get rid of one more of his pieces. And now I'm gonna play rook e8, just grabbing the file. This pawn is still defended by the queen. Okay, he goes back, connecting the rooks. Now I can go here to attack the bishop and also prepare to double the rooks on the e file. So let's do that. Attacking the bishop. If he takes, I take and the queen defends the rook, so he cannot take to remove the defender of the rook, because I get another defender. Okay, goes rook a3. I guess he's reinforcing this pawn. But now let's just double the rooks. Actually, I just missed a free piece. I just noticed that. Okay, he went d4. So now I do have a check here. Check. Now let's look at which squares are we covering. We did a check. So all of those. So he will have to go back. But I don't really see a checkmate. I guess if he goes back, then I have check or something. But let's just play it more simply, I guess. I mean, I can go here as well. You know what, let's just throw in a check and let's see what happens. Check. At the very least, I'm picking up this pawn. I could also trade, obviously, this was totally fine. But I think I have something more here. Now let's see where he goes. So he has... Okay, he goes back. Now I can go here maybe to threaten the checkmate. I guess that's a good move. So let's do that. Now, you don't have to search for checkmate. You can just trade off all of the pieces and then be up in material and just promote another queen. That's the simpler way. But I'm gonna try to find a checkmate here. So I'm not looking for the most precise move because I don't know what move is the most precise. I'm just bringing my pieces closer to the king and then hopefully I will spot something. So now let's look for checks. This one doesn't do anything, he just takes. I have this one as well. Check. So my queen will be covering these squares. And then the rook. So his king has to go here or he has to block with the pawn. Now, if his king goes here, then I can slide my queen down. So I take, he moves, and I go here, and this is checkmate, because this is the ladder checkmate. Queen is covering this rank and the rook the other one. So I guess he has to block. So here he has to block, but if he blocks, then I still go down. And it will be a checkmate, but he can block with the rook. And then maybe I can take this pawn. So I think this must be winning. So I just looked for checks, and you don't have to see all of this calculation, but this must be good. I'm taking the pawn with a check, and I'm also, you can probably all see this threat. This is just a checkmate if he moves the king. Yeah, he moved the king. Now, as you can see, this is checkmate. His king cannot go up because of this rook, and the queen is attacking the king. So this is mate. Okay, now let's look at the analysis. I'm gonna turn off the engine. So e45, and then he played, so e45, I play e5 because he's controlling these two squares. I also want to control some center, so now I'm controlling these two, so it's even. But he plays this weird move, obviously intending to go for the checkmate. So I don't know, he was hoping for something like this, I guess. This would be checkmate. But I just developed both knights. Now I developed this knight first, because in the event of bishop c4, as you can see, there is no longer a checkmate threat because my knight is intercepting the queen. So then I would just play knight to c6 and then go for knight d4. But he went g4. Now notice that I didn't immediately think of how can I move the knight away. I was thinking about, okay, I know that this is an idea, so if I develop the knight and then he attacks my knight, I can counter-attack his queen, and also my knight is defended. That's a crucial part of this, because let's say, just gonna make up the position. Let's say this was the position. Need to make one more random move. He attacks my knight, let's say, and then I counter-attack his queen. But my knight is undefended. Now he can move away his queen from my knight seeing it. He can move it, let's say, to a4. And now both of my knights are hanging. So you have to look out for that. You cannot just mindlessly counter-attack. Here, in this case, as you can see, my knight is defended. So even if he moves his queen, my knight is defended. So I can safely move this knight away. Okay, so g5, I go knight d4. I'm attacking this pawn as well. So if he goes back, he defends, or he can go, I guess, here. If he goes here, then I take this pawn. So I guess this was the best try for him. And then I would just move my knight away. Probably I could also go back. I guess this is the best move, because if I go here, then my knight gets trapped actually. So I guess I have to go back, and then I would just redeploy my knight, or even pick up this pawn. So my other plan was obviously from the video I made. It was to go d5. So let's say, okay, I move my knight back. I don't know, he develops or something, and then I would go, okay, in this case I just made my plan not work, but I can go even c6. Let's say he just develops, then I go here to d5, and then he takes probably with the pawn, and then I would go bishop f5 and I would get a fork. So his queen is attacked. He has to go, let's say here. He cannot go here because then he gets forked. This one is a fork. So he has to go, let's say, here it's also attacked, I guess, to g3, and then I would get the fork. So this was also a idea that I had in mind. But he just blundered the queen, so I take the queen, he takes my knight, and then this knight, I cannot go here because then I get attacked and I don't have a square to go to. So you have to at least look at two moves in the future to make a safe retreating move. So I chose this square. I could also go to d4 perfectly fine, I mean e4. So in the event of him attacking, I can also in this case go d5 or just back. So I go knight d5. He develops weirdly on the edge of the board. This move was way better. I develop my bishop before playing e6. I mean d6, because if I play d6 here, then my bishop cannot get out. So I first move the bishop out. My knight is attacked. I have to move it or defend it. I chose to defend it. He attacks it once again. I move back. I don't know what he's doing here, probably just trying to go to a5, but this pawn is hanging, so I take. He attacks my knight once again, go back. I spot a opportunity to trade off pieces, so I do that. Go d5, open up this bishop. Now here I could also take, he takes and I block. This was also perfectly fine. I chose queen to c7 because let's say if this move he has d4, and if I go e4 he has f3 because I cannot take because the rook is spinning the pawn to the king. So that's why I chose queen to c7. He goes f6. Now if I take, as you can see, this pawn is really annoying, because in this case, yes, the pawn is still annoying, but at least he doesn't have the file. At least he doesn't have the g file, because if I take, then he also has the g file. So that's why I chose to push the pawn. I castle, spot the opportunity to get another trade. Now here I was hesitant about taking this knight because he would have this powerful bishop, but in this case I'm also getting a pawn for it, so I chose to do so. So I remove the defender, because here if I take, the knight takes, so I remove the defender and then I take. I don't know what he's doing here because the queen is still defending. I trade, go in, and then I do not spot the free piece. I just double the rooks. But yeah, this was a free piece. I go rook e8, check. I don't know which one is better. Let's look at the computer here actually. Okay, so this was the most accurate. Queen to a5 was also an option, so it's already forced mate. But I just played one check. I didn't know this was the best move. He goes back. I play queen to a. Okay, so this is one of the best moves. I'm just getting my pieces closer to his king. I could also maybe take this pawn, let's say, to get the rook in. This was also an option. But I spot this two move sequence. So just queen a5. If he doesn't do anything, this is a checkmate. But he blocks, so now I cannot go here. But this pawn is hanging with check. He goes here and then I checkmate. His other option was to go b3, but now I still go check. He has to block, and this is just checkmate. Okay, so I saw all of that. But as I said before, you don't have to see all of the combinations. You just see, okay, I'm taking this pawn with check. I have two heavy pieces close to his king. There must be something like a checkmate or just a massive, you're gonna win a massive amount of material. And yeah, this is just checkmate. So this is the game. Thanks for watching and see you next time.